malicious compliance in response to weaponized incompetence. Okay, I'm new to the page. I want to hear all of your stories or moments of malicious compliance in marriage. Mine is when I asked my husband to move money from another shared bank account to our checking for bills. You guessed it, he didn't move the money. This was the third time that he forgot about it, and I was tired of asking. I watched our checking account go into the negatives / with overdraft fees. I confronted him and he said that I didn't tell him which account, but we only have one main account for both of us to pay bills from. The account is connected to our debit cards. The next day, he went for lunch at Chipotle. As he was checking out, he realized that he didn't have cash or money on his debit card. He called me at least 5 times asking me to transfer money, since I was near the bank that day. I did transfer money, but not to the account with the debit card, because he didn't say which account. We haven't had any problems with him transferring money since. Edit. We share all of our bank accounts. I crunch the numbers and can't always be responsible for budgeting and going to the bank / doing transfers. Don't annoy me and ask for a 5-star rating. This happened in the 90s when no one had caller ID. My friend Jenny, about 35, was a SOM, and her husband Walter, about 40, worked long hours commuting by train to the big city. Walter owned a BMW and dropped it off for service early morning at the dealership that was close to his train station. The dealership gave him a ride to the station. That evening, Walter picked up the car and returned home. No problem, right? The nightmare began days later. The first call came from whatever marketing company BMW had hired to conduct their surveys. Jenny answered, but they wouldn't accept her feedback, wanting only to speak to Walter. Jenny requested they call back in the evening to speak with him. That night when they called, Walter was tired and didn't want to deal with it, so he asked Jenny to tell them he wasn't going to respond. They replied that they would call again at another time. The phone calls came multiple times a week for over a month, asking to speak with Walter, but he refused to answer. Jenny begged first the marketing company to stop calling and then Walter to just answer their survey. This was driving her crazy. Jenny swears they called no fewer than 30 times. Finally, Jenny went down to the dealership to ask them to stop the phone calls. The lady at the desk was a bit snippy and said she couldn't help. Luckily, Jenny noticed a very large sign requesting that customers who were not going to give a 5-star rating to call and speak to the GM. The next time the survey call came asking for Walter, Jenny replied speaking. Survey woman, I'm calling for Walter. Jenny, that's me. Survey woman, I'm calling for Walter. Jenny, are you making fun of my name? Survey woman, oh no. Of course not. The survey was given and Jenny didn't give them anything higher than 3 stars on any question. Is this malicious compliance? I hope so. Bananas. I've started buying bananas for my job. We have 2 15-minute breaks, and on my first one I like to snack. My first time doing this, I bought 2 bunches of bananas and brought them home. I bought 2 because I knew my sister would also want bananas, but that seemed to be a mistake. The whole time we had these bananas, every day, my sister would say, I think you bought too many bananas. This is a lot of bananas. I think you bought too many bananas. Day in and day out, I spend my hard-earned, factory, money on my bananas, and she has the gall to tell me I bought too many? Okay, I've now been buying 1 bunch of bananas, as opposed to the oh so generous 2. Now reader, there are 3 things you may not know. 1. The rule to the bananas was, she could have them, as long as there were enough for me to have 1 for every day I worked. 2. I work 5 days a week. 3. A bunch of bananas from my Kroger has only 6 bananas on them. No more is she basking in bananas whenever she may please. Now she only gets 1 banana a week. She's talked to me about how she gets stressed at the prospect of leaving me with no bananas, so she doesn't know if she can have 1. I now get to have my bananas, and no longer hear her complaining about too many bananas, like such a thing exists. Cold as ice. This happened today at work. I manage a bar / restaurant. We had a long weekend, and everyone, to include myself, is noticeably ready for the day to be over, but at this point it had only just started. I had stopped by the gas station on my way in and grabbed a couple of energy drinks and a Powerade to get me through the shift, as I intended to space out the time between them. To maximize their effectiveness, I placed the second energy drink and the Powerade in the canned beer well to keep them cold. While placing them in the well, I noticed there is very little ice in them, and we are now currently open for business. As is required from time to time, I approach my bartenders and say, hey guys, Beer wells are looking light on ice. Let's get some more ice on them so our products stay cold. To which I receive some exasperated but light-hearted sighs. We are a pretty relaxed establishment most of the time provided things get done as they should be. So I pull out my disappointed dad voice and say, come on guys. Why all know the drill? Fast forward 5 hours into the shift, and I go to grab my drink. Imagine my surprise when I arrive at the aforementioned beer well, with an accompaniment of uproarious laughter to find the well properly iced down. Save the very corner I had placed my drinks, which now resembles a scaled model of Mount Everest.